Thank you, Sally. It is so nice to follow someone who is tall. And you have to use the microphone. Usually, I have to, it's down there. It's really good to see all of you here today. To join together in spiritual community, particularly after a major holiday like Thanksgiving, in which we spent hours eating and eating and eating until we could not move anymore. I don't know about you, but I always eat more than I should, and then I lay down longer than I should. You know, one of the things about this particular teaching is, or a question that I often ask about it is, what is so special about you? What is different about this teaching than all the other churches and teachings that litter the landscape everywhere? And that's usually, well, that's not always the first question I'm asked. The first question is usually, are you related to Scientology, and if so, how? Once I reassure them that we have nothing to do with Scientology, they stop edging away and they'll ask, you know, kind of, what is it that you believe? Unless they're evangelical Christians who will often ask, well, do you actually believe in God? And I will usually tell them, yes, we don't believe in anything else. But what is it that is so special about this teaching? Well, a long time ago, the founder of religious science, Ernest Holmes, said, there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. This is a very declarative statement. It is one that recognizes that there is a universal mind, a universal intelligence, a God, whatever you want to call it, that creates and animates the universe and everything in it. And by everything in it, that includes you. But more importantly, he answered the last 4 words of that quote. You can use it, because that was what I wanted to know is, okay, I can use it, but how do I do that? And his discovery, and I do believe it was a discovery that makes this teaching different from all others, is one that we can use. And it is the one reason why you should be here. There is no other reason why you should be here. Because that is what we call spiritual mind treatment. Or you can call it affirmative prayer if that sounds a little bit too clinical and scientific for you. Or you can just call it prayer. Or you can just call it talking to God. Whatever you call it, it's the same. It is the recognition that we are in tune with the infinite. And not only are we in tune with the infinite, but it flows through us. And through disciplined thought and belief, we can tend to shape the universe that unfolds around us, the life that unfolds around us. We cannot change everything about the world, but we can change some things. We can change ourselves. And as we change ourselves, we can change the world around us. Now, you know, prayer is very common to all religions. And the one thing that I noticed about prayer, particularly growing up in the Southern Baptist Church, was that there was a lot of begging and pleading. We prayed, I grew up on a farm, so we prayed that the crops would come in or we wouldn't eat. We prayed that the hogs didn't die, you know, before we could use them. And there was a lot of things like that. You know, I would pray that my dad didn't find out that I had drunk beer on Saturday night. And I found out then that God does not answer all prayers. But Holmes, he had a different idea. He believed that we do not have to beg and plead, that there is no God up there hearing our prayers, listening to them, evaluating them, and depending on how he feels that day, deciding whether he answers them or not. Whether your prayers are answered are completely up to us. We are the manifestation of God, and we are God's arms, legs, mind within the world itself. We are the manifestation of God, and we create our own reality. We do not create everything about this reality, but we have a powerful way of interacting with the world around us and by channeling God through us, through this modality that we call spiritual mind treatment. You know, in the Bible it says, the rain falls upon the just and the unjust. When Jesus said this, what he was saying is, life can favor or not favor you, and it really doesn't have any difference. It really doesn't matter whether you are good or bad. Holmes took this and he believed that God works the same for everyone. Whatever, no matter what you want to do, you can use this power for good or for evil, for wisdom or for not so wise things. And so he developed this modality that he called spiritual mind treatment, which you've probably heard a lot about if you've been coming to services like this, centers like this. And he also knew that every day we are expressing ourselves. We are expressing God. And this is another point that I want to make before I turn this talk over to Barley and Susan. So I wanted to mention that because you don't have to listen to me for the whole thing. The main speakers will be coming on forward shortly. But one of the things that I learned is that you are conducting spiritual mind treatment every moment of every day in everything that you do. How you believe, how you see the world will influence how the world comes at you. And knowing this, spiritual mind treatment is not just something that you do in the morning when you get up, where you go through the steps, where you do your prayer, and you say, ooh, I'm going to be rich today, and then for the rest of the day, you think about how poor you are. It is a means for changing how you see the world. And it's a natural process. It's not magical thinking. It's not wishing and hoping. Because one of the things that Holmes said was that you have to look at it as a scientific process, one that uses natural laws, and you should also look at your own demonstration of it, how it works for you, and you should judge it by that. And so with that, I'd like to turn this over to Susan.
Perfect. So I want to talk about the first two steps of treatment. And I know that you all have probably heard this before about the recognition step, the unification step, the realization step, the thanksgiving, and the release. We've talked about that, and the symbols for that are RUR2TR, the letters, and that stands for are you ready to receive? And we receive when we're open and willing to change. We have the ultimate power in our lives to change ourselves. So this first stage that Dr. Holmes set forth is called recognition, and this is where we recognize that God, Spirit, higher power, source, universe, whatever name resonates with you, there is only one. There is one source. And this step both of these steps of treatment are feeling steps, but this one we kind of use our brain a lot for, to get the words that resonate with us. So whatever I say when I do my first step of treatment may not be what you say when you do your first step of treatment, because you want to choose something that you are comfortable with. We say, God is, I am. Those are the first two steps. So God is, what is it to you? And for me, I often use God is as close as my breath. As I release and I breathe deeply, I can feel the presence of God, because breath means that to me. When I pause, take a moment, if I'm in anxiety or in fear, breathing for me always works. So it's important that you explore this and figure out what works for you and use those words. There's nothing about any of this that is a secret, or as Randy said, is magical. It's all about changing our own perception inside of the life we're experiencing in the moment. So I heard somebody say one time, prayer doesn't change God, prayer changes us. And that's what spiritual mind treatment does. So as you do that first step, the recognition, that's about claiming, moving into the place where you can believe that you are one with this power, and that moves you to the unification step. And I think this is, to me, in my experience, this has been my most important step, because when I can fully grasp that I am one with the source of all, I am one with the power of all, I feel safe. I find that fear dissipates. I find that anxiety I may have been experiencing just is not real anymore. It's like a higher presence within me is now what's moving me and informing me, and I can feel that peace. I think these prayer treatments, I know that especially when we're learning, we write them down. See someone trying to get in our front door there. We write them down, but for me the power is in hearing them, And I know I got, I think several of us, probably the practitioners, all got an email from Reverend Lane this morning. And she wrote a prayer treatment for this service. And I read it and I kind of skimmed it and I thought, well, isn't that nice of her? And then I thought, no, let me read that out loud to myself. Let me say those words that have been given, that hearing them means so much. Hearing them makes them real. And by saying it out loud, when I am doing a prayer treatment and it's maybe not working, maybe I'm having a hard time feeling like I'm unified with the love in the universe, or I'm unified with the harmony in the if I've got a lot going on inside, it's hard for me to believe, and you need to keep going until you begin to believe it. It's about expanding our experience, breathing into it. If I recognize that I'm feeling fear in this step, I may say, I release fear and allow love to be my presence. I release fear and I allow harmony and peace to be my mental experience. So it's whatever you need at the time. That there's not a unification that I often say, God is love, I am love. God is harmony, I am harmony. God is clarity, and I use that word a lot because my mind gets kind of confused at times about what's going on. I use clarity, I am clarity. And then I need to breathe into it and allow it to be. Much of this is about releasing our resistance to life and allowing God's presence to come in. It's in this step that our self-concept can enlarge in this unification step. We begin to see our own uniqueness, and we begin to feel the power that Spirit has, my goodness, that Spirit has given us. That's an exuberance for life, and I accept it for that. But we become aware when we're unified with Source that we do have all the power, that we are completely safe, that whatever is going on in our lives that we may not like is really okay, will be okay, will turn out okay. It's about separating that physical manifestation. I had this one time when I was very sick, and I know I've shared this before, but I was having a hard time treating for myself because I was sick, I was running a fever, I was in extreme pain, I had chronic diverticulitis, and it made me mad every time I got it because it really disrupted my schedule, and it wasn't in my day planner, and I got all, I just got all worked up, and I'd say, I am free from pain, and I just couldn't believe it anymore. I was experiencing the pain, and I sent an email to some people that support me spiritually, and one of them called me and she said, did you forget that you are so much more than your physical body? And I had in that moment. I had just become wrapped up in what appeared to be the truth. And then I just relaxed. And I thought, well, my body knows how to heal. I just have to relax and embrace the spiritual being that I truly am and be in peace. And this will all work out. And it did. And when you're stuck like that, let me just say, because I was truly stuck in that moment, that's when you ask for help. That's when you ask someone else to treat for you. When you can't get yourself, if you can't get through the recognition into the fully unifying, that's why we have practitioners, that's why we have ministers, that's why we have friends who practice this teaching and know how to do it. So, in recognition, all separation, we truly are never separated from Spirit. But sometimes we forget that. So this is the step where all separation from God, from Spirit, is released. And we are one with all that we are meant to be in this moment. And I find that almost miraculous. That I can go from a state of anxiety and worry and fret and pain or whatever it is to a place of peace just by breathing and saying the words. And it's the words that change my thinking. And we learn here that we can change our thinking anytime we want to change our thinking, and our experience of life changes. So I will turn it over to Barley to talk about the realization step, which she probably will say is the most important step. but it all comes together. We're really blessed that we have had a teacher, a founder like Dr. Holmes that puts it down in steps so that we can do this. And it works.
Couple things. I want to confirm 3 different things before I actually start on realization. The first thing is that you did notice that Reverend Lane isn't here, right? She and Becky go away every Thanksgiving weekend. That's kind of their special time. So I think that's really exciting that they are away and they are enjoying. But that's why she asked the practitioners, the 3 of us, to speak today. The second thing is Susan so eloquently talked about Dr. Holmes. I want to introduce him the way I know him. He's my good buddy Ernie. So same person, different name. And the third thing is that Randy and Susan both said there's no magic. Well, I tell you what, being true, yes, there is no magic. But this is the stage, this is the step that feels like magic. This is where we get to state our truth. This is where we get to say, this is who I am, this is what I am, this is what I want. And I know each one of us wants something at some point. You may not desire a lot of differences in your life in this moment, but on occasion, we do each want something. So the realization phase or stage is where we get to state in no uncertain terms what it is we want. Also being me, I'm going to ask you to participate instead of me just telling you what I think. So that's down the road just a minute or two here. So one of the big questions with the realization stage is specificity. You hear people a lot, ministers, practitioners saying, be specific. Tell spirit, oh, I don't think I like that. But anyhow, speak your word very specifically. Tell the world, tell yourself, speak it aloud, and make it specific. Well, I agree with specificity, but not always the way we might think. So, starting at the beginning, we know we want something, okay? I'm thinking I want a new house. I'm going to pretend everybody here wants a new house. Okay. I can tell you because I just, oh, pick you, okay, pick you, a new house. Did you have to say something? You can.
I want a new house and I want it to be pink.
All right. Now that's part of the specificity. She wants a pink house. I do not want a pink house, just in case you were wondering. But she wants a pink house. Dennis and I are going up to Cincinnati to close on a house that we just bought. So I know exactly what I want in this new house. I want a two-family, so he and I can have a place on the top floor where we can go and have our privacy. We can go, we can stay as long as we want. Don't have to check in, check out. It's our place. It's got all the conveniences of home for those, 4 or 5 weeks a year that we spend up in Cincinnati. But it's a two-family because the downstairs is being purchased by our daughter and her husband. So we're sharing the mortgage, and we're all for paying on this. I know I want 2 bedrooms because I want my grandkids to be able to come and stay with us. Those are specific things. I know, I have a beautiful dining room table and china hutch. I want a place where those will fit in my new house. You might want a pink house. You might want a 4-bedroom house. You might want a 7-bathroom house. I don't know what you want, but it's probably not exactly what I want. But there's more to that. Anytime you want something, there are 2 different aspects. One is the form. I know I wanted this 2-family house, but that's not really why I want it. I really want the experience. I want the experience of knowing the comfort of home up in Cincinnati, the security of our younger daughter and her husband always having a place to call home. I want security, I want safety, I want the home to be filled with absolute, unconditional love. So that's the experience I want. You might be looking for a house that makes you joyful because it's pink on the outside and that's your favorite color. You might want a house that offers security or safety or adventure. Oh, buy one that you're going to tear apart and rebuild the way you want it. But that's the experience. So I can put form to my desires, but that's not really going to get me where I want to be. What I really want is the experience. And that's what I'm going to encourage you to think about today. So, 3 basic questions. What do I want? What form do I see this taking? And I can do that. I have the form in my head. And what experience do I want? And that's the love and joy and peace and security and safety and adventure and whatever else I want to add to that. So I'm going to lead you in a practice, an exercise in creating a spiritual prototype. Since I can't speak directly to each of you, I'm going to use just a generic desire. So I am right here, right now, stating that you each want a new car. So you may not want a new car. I don't care. I want you to think through the questions I'm asking about this new car. So as we all sit here, do you want a new car, Brianna?
I
Yeah?
want a pink one.
I would have guessed you wanted
I want a
pink
pink
one.
and purple one.
Now, I might be with you on that. Purple's my favorite color. Okay, and that's actually one of the first questions I'm going to ask you. Either with closed eyes or looking forward right now, I want you to picture this divinely guided new car. Okay, it is the perfect car for you. It is perfect in every way, and I want you to picture it. So as you're picturing, think about all the details. Imagine the details. The color. What color is your new car? The size. Is it a teeny tiny Mini Cooper? Or is it a huge Cadillac? Or something in between, or a town car or a limo? I don't know what you want. But picture that car. The size, the shape. Sleek curves or kind of boxy. I don't know what you want, but you do. Smell that new car smell. Think about how comfortable it is to be sitting inside. Think of all the buttons. Does it have Bluetooth? Can you talk on your phone while you're driving it? Oh yeah. You can talk to anybody and it's all hands-free. And there's a map that pops up and tells me where I'm headed and how to get there. When to turn, when to go straight, how fast to go. Any of that. Think about the other accessories. Oh, those 7-speed windshield wipers. You can get them intermittent. You can get them really fast. Think about the shine. Oh, how's that car look? Think about the color, the shine. It's translucent or not. So can you picture this car that is your heart's desire in this moment? Okay, I see a few heads shaking yes. Now, I'm going to ask you to remove some things from this picture. I want you to take away all of the elements or conditions related to time. So for example, take away the year of the car. Take away the thought of how many payments you need to make on it. Take away the speed of it, which means take away the engine. Take away that smooth ride because we don't want to talk about the transmission or the axles, or we're going to do away with all of that. Take away the element of the picture related to time. Now I'm going to ask you to remove from that picture all the elements related to form. Remove the metal. Remove the chassis. Remove the plastic. Remove the chrome. Take away all of the properties of physical form in this new car. Take away the air conditioning. Take away the tires. Take away anything associated with form. So looking at this new car, you don't see anything. But what do you feel? What's left? What are the absolute conditions of this new car that remain in the picture, that remain in your knowing of this new car? I'm betting we're not all seeing the same things, but I bet some of you are seeing absolute freedom. You can jump in, you can go where you want, when you want. I bet some of you are seeing adventure because it goes really fast. Some of you might be feeling the breeze, the wind in your hair, because of course it's a convertible, right? You might be feeling fun or beauty or sex appeal. Oh, how cool are you gonna look sitting in that driver's seat? Security, safety. Does anybody see anything like that in your picture after you take away the form, after you take away the time? Brianna's shaking her head. Can you tell us what you still see? I bet you see fun.
And I see flowers.
Ooh, all right.
Pretty flowers.
Cool.
And a pink one.
Oh, well, I knew it would be pink. I just already knew that. How about the rest of you? What are you feeling from this new car?
Ease.
Ease, I like it.
Relief. Convenience.
Oh, yeah. Relief, convenience.
Safety.
Okay.
I feel presents.
You feel presence?
All right. I feel a presence too, but it might be different from yours.
I want to give presents to everyone.
Cool. I saw a few other hands back there. Tell us what's left.
I feel confident when I step out of the car.
All right. Ooh, I like it. Now we're getting down to what we really want. That way, if we speak from that point of view of the experience, Spirit can create whatever, because it doesn't have to stick to whatever form that we've given it. Spirit can create a way for us to feel the freedom, the ease. And that's what this stage of realization is about. Create for yourself what you want to feel in that. So the absolute conditions, this is a term by Trower. He calls it the spiritual prototype. And that's what you want. That's what you want to think about. That's what you want to talk about in your realization. So instead of saying, oh, I want a red convertible, you want to say, I know that the new car that is waiting for me gives me freedom, gives me liberation, gives me safety, gives me the God qualities that I really want. That's what this car provides for me. And then we're moving on, because Thanksgiving is next. God doesn't need us to say thanks. God already is and does whatever. But we need thanksgiving or gratitude to open up our minds to the highest and best. By being grateful, we let go of limitations. So gratitude is this fourth stage. I am grateful. I am grateful. I am thankful for all the blessings that Spirit gives me. I'm grateful to be here today to share this time with all of these people. I'm grateful for Spirit leading me to Science of Mind. I'm grateful for believing and knowing the truth. I'm grateful to have Susan and Randy to step up here and speak with me. I'm grateful for knowing truth in this moment. And then release. Release lets it go to the law, because the law has to come back and do exactly what we've said. So I release. I let go of all concerns. I let go of any doubt or fear. I know that this freedom, this liberation, this ease, this safety is already mine. I know Spirit is creating that for me right now, in this moment. And then Spirit is letting me off the hook because I'm turning it over to Randy.
I really don't know what I could add to that. Susan and Barley spoke well of how spiritual mind treatment works. but since I have to say something, let me summarize the 5 steps of treatment for you. Step 1 is God is all there is. God is everywhere and in everything. Step 2, I am one with God. Step 3, this is how I am expressing God in my life. Step 4, thank you, God. Step 5, and so it is. It's very simple. You know, that was one of the things that attracted me to this teaching, was that it was very simple. Ernest Holmes expressed this philosophy, this very deep theology in very simple terms. And that was what I really liked about it, in that I could understand it. I mean, I first got into metaphysical teaching when I was going to Unity, and I went to a Course in Miracles class, and I sat through it Sunday after Sunday, and I had not the vaguest idea of what they were talking about. It was just really, you know, beyond me. And then eventually someone told me I should come to a religious science church, what was then called Religious Science, now Centers for Spiritual Living, that you really needed to hear what they had to say. And I did. I was very glad, because I learned this teaching. And it is not just a teaching that gives you understanding of how things work. It is a teaching that you can use in your own life. And that is how I would challenge each one of you. Please go home today and do your own spiritual mind treatment. In fact, don't wait till you get home. Start doing it right now. Start thinking of how you are expressing God in your own life, and better still, how you wish to express God in your life. And once you have decided that, once you start to see everything around you as God, that everything is unfolding as you wish, then you truly will be able to realize how things work and how they can work for you. And with that, I will turn it over to Sally.